you know what I mean? Like she's just feeling it out. Hey guys, it's Dan the Dude here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be discussing the 90s. To be quite frank, I wasn't exactly the most fond of the 90s. My personal experiences with the 90s weren't so great. Most people nowadays are like, oh my god, the 90s, they were better, they were amazing, they were so nostalgic, but I don't share the same opinion. However, there are some redeeming qualities which I will give credit for, and I'm gonna list 10. So here we go, guys. Here's a list of 10 things that I would bring back from the 90s. Number 1, voicemails. Guys, voicemails. Think about this, okay? You had a long day at work. You've had a bunch of shit. It's just been a horrible, awful week. And you come home and you go to your answering machine. And for those of you who don't know what an answering machine is you basically it's set up to take voicemails, and you hit a button and it plays all of the messages. It sounds like a crazy new app idea, right? You know, it is so forgotten that it's probably in the works of coming back somehow. I don't know when, who knows? I just wish it were back, and that's something from the 90s that I absolutely know for a fact needs to come back. There's nothing better, there's nothing more human than hearing other human voices and coming home to the sound of voicemails. Number 2, phone calls, guys. This definitely ties into voicemails, but nowadays, this new generation that we've breeded, all they want to do is message each other, and basically their idea of connection is symbology. It's letters, it's numbers, it's emojis, and they suck at face-to-face contact, so much so that even older people are beginning to get affected by this because no one is reaching out enough, no one is engaging enough, no one is talking enough, at least with people who matter and people that they want to spend time with. If you're gonna be texting someone, you might as well at least devote some part of your day to physical, vocal phone contact. If you can get some kind of a decent human conversation, which on a side note, human conversation is not for text. It's just not, and it never will be. Text will never replace the depth and the range that human verbalized communication can hit. Text cannot do that. And so people who are convinced that it can, know that's not true. You cannot murder the English language and just decide not to speak to anyone and only use symbology. It's a crutch, a handicap. You use it because you're not around people and you're busy, but that's not exactly a replacement for the real thing. So please get that image out of your head. Please just switch it up. Number 3, drawn cartoons shows, movies, TV shows. Guys, if you think about Disney movies recently, what Disney classic has come out aside from the Pixar's? It has just been nothing but Pixar's. There are no new princesses. There are no new constructive ideas that challenge the, normatives of those particular movies. However, maybe that will be a new facet of something to pursue. I just don't exactly believe animation should be a dying art. I think animation is just as valid as 3D cartoonage, and it's something that we should take advantage of as a medium and really use it to our advantage. There are still gonna be certain things that you can only do in animation that you cannot in 3D. So for me, it's cartoons, animation, bring it back, What's the point of making things realistic? If for kids at least, if they want to be as far away from reality and closer to imagination. Number 4, maybe you guys know this, but at the end of every 90s movie, now obviously I'm exaggerating, most 90s movies, the ending credits would end with a really sentimental family song, the sound of some kind of harmonic piano playing, maybe even a saxophone thrown in there, which I will get to in a second. And you just felt all of this deep familial love, and the resolution of the movie had passed, and they lived happily ever after. And it was just such a soft song with a woman singing to the top of her lungs. It actually sounds kind of bittersweet in a way, and it's a little sad, but it's strong and you're feeling it. You know what I mean? She's just feeling it out. Yeah, I know, I just did that. Whatever. Number 5, guys, saxophones. For all the saxophonists out there, I apologize. This is my public declaration. I am so sorry that you guys just don't get the positive rap that you did in the 80s and 90s. And the 90s, I mention you in this list because you were a big part of the 90s and you were basically, you vanished a little bit after the 90s, a little bit before it ended. It's a wonderful sound, it's a beautiful instrument. Please come back. Okay, 6. Malls throughout the rest of the country, they're literally forgotten, and I'm looking and I see documentaries on it, and I see that people, local malls, the malls that they grew up in as children just a couple decades ago are just going kaput. The mall was a defining facet of American culture, and to see that breed of like mall culture, mall memories, mall children, mall dating, you know, mall stories just dying away at the hands of whatever the changes are, online shopping, let's get real here. To see that going away is certainly sad, and I will miss mall culture for most of America, and if it could just come back, that'd be awesome, because at the end of the day, malls represent another social facet, watering hole, a place to meet up. Malls were always considered like a place for social gathering. It's just another example on a culture that places emphasis on human interaction dying off, so that's that. Alright, 7. Guys, it may be overplayed, you might be sick of it, I really don't know what your case is, but I am so sick and tired of people being so upset at seeing couples on the street kiss. Like, why do you even care? It's none of your business. And that goes into my next point, which is number 7, romantic comedies. There are not nearly as much romantic comedies as there used to be. There are just not as many. If you name any actor from the 90s, they'd be in at least 3 romantic comedies throughout the decade. All actors at one point or another in the 90s were in a romantic comedy. And this whole like aspect of like falling in love was covered in the media a lot more heavily than it is today. Not many people are falling in love on camera enough. And I kind of feel like in some kind of way that's like found its way into culture and society. People are really private, and love is something that in one way or another just seems to not be as present in media anymore. It's very strange with the concept of romance and love and affection and devotion, all of these wonderful things that make people, you know, find love. There's just not as much of an emphasis on it anymore. Now we're just making a way to find love like so completely ungraceful and so completely like just mediocre and just awful. My point is, we need a little bit more romance in our culture, a little bit more romance in our media. There's nothing wrong with that. Just get over it. But that's something I certainly see as a dying breed of cinema and media, and please just bring back rom-coms. Rom-coms for the win, please guys. 8. Diversity. Now this is a little more broad, but this, you know, this is my opinion, and this could get a little touchy, depends on who you are. I really just don't care. If you have any comments or concerns, just feel free to comment below, whatever. But I kind of feel like 90s media, 90s TV shows were a lot better at like illustrating a more diverse makeup of a cast or crew or even cartoons. What comes to mind for me is The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Sister Sister, All That, Kenan and Kel, all of those 90s TV shows, even Clueless, Martin. All of those shows were like effortlessly diverse. They didn't intend on being diverse. Like for me, those shows, they were just shows. They may have had a cast that like was of a multicultural background, but they weren't seen as anything else for that. Those TV shows back in the day were simply TV shows that happened to have predominantly mixed class. 90s media did an exceptional job at incorporating multicultural casts in a very effortless way, and it was something that was unspoken, and there was never any backlash. It was just something that was there, and it was so effortless. It was so effortless and so American and just diverse, and nothing, it was just so in my opinion, the 90s did such a good job at diversifying the media and diversifying cast and crews of several different shows and several different movies and all of that sort. 9. This may be a little silly, but like another thing that I really do miss, especially for, you know, in a generation like mine, finding jobs on newspapers. If you really think about it, like, can you imagine going to your local newspaper, opening it up, and having a section full of job offers, a section full of different opportunities, like opportunities that simple. You just go to a newspaper and it's just that tangible. It still symbolizes another emphasis of like more communal kind of like gathering, or more communal like board of some kind, messaging board, where you can like interact with even the local economy in your general region. And that's something that isn't present nowadays. If you find a job, or if you're looking for a job, it's gonna be a job that automatically doesn't necessarily associate itself with, you know, location. During the 90s, that was probably like the last time in like American history where like newspapers were like probably a really key factor in many people finding some kind of an income, some kind of a career path, some kind of jobs. And I just find that to be so charming, don't you think? And number 10, my last and final thing, children's fashion. I don't know what you guys think, but in my opinion, all of us, including myself, we basically look like Cabbage Patch Kids that came out of like a stalk of like lettuce or broccoli. We were all dressed in overalls and wearing florals and plaid shirts and button-ups and really awful jeans and boots, and we all, like, I collectively think that all 90s kids had some kind of like a real like country-ish vibe. Like we were like country. We all looked like we were ready to go planting for some godforsaken reason, that we were all just gonna go into the meadow and plant a field of flowers and sing Kumbaya and run around, and that's literally 90s fashion for children. And we just looked like we were ready to go planting, and we had a green thumb. It just reminds me of like planting and, you know, crops, and I don't know, it just kind of, that was like some kind of aesthetic that 90s kids were really hitting the hammer on, especially with big sweaters and all that stuff. Guys, that's basically the 10 things that I would like to bring back from the 90s. And if you like this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, share, comment, and if you're feeling this, definitely subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time. Love you all. Bye!